Welcome to Life on Maui. I'm your host, Steve Freid, and I have a guest today that I am absolutely honored to have. Recently at the film festival, the first film that played was Peaceful Warrior, and it's an exceptional film. And I have the producer with me today, David Welch, and I'm going to read a couple of reviews from this movie before we get started. First review, or testimonial, is from Eckhart Tolle from Power of Now. A stunning and extraordinary film that takes you on a journey out of your mind and into the present moment. Watch it and be transformed. Jim Carrey, the actor. When you hear the truth, it sounds familiar, like seeing a reflection of something you already possess. This film is that clear and simple reflection. I enjoyed every moment. So welcome, David.
Thank you, Steve. It's an honor to be here.
So talk about the people involved in this film. Nick Nolte and some of the other people involved in this movie.
Scott Meklowitz, who played Dan, and Amy Smart, that plays Joy.
And who did Nick Nolte play?
He played Socrates, who's one of the main characters in the movie. We were just blessed to have Nick Nolte play this part because you have all sorts of ideas. I've been working on this for 23 years, and so I've had all sorts of fantasies on who might play this part. But when you get down to actually shooting the movie, it comes down to who's available on February 14th when you're going to start shooting the film. So then you start looking at all those possible actors, and one of them who was not available was Nick Nolte because he was going to shoot another film. So we went through a number of possibilities: Anthony Hopkins, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and you know, different complications and different possibilities came, and we were just about ready to make a decision, and Nick Nolte's film fell through, and his agent called us up and said, "Hey, Nick Nolte's available." We said, "Well, let's interview Nick Nolte too." So we actually, the script was sent out to Nick, loved it, just, you know, loved the script.
He had read the book?
He had read the book, and some 20 odd years before, and just loved the project. So we went and rented a whole lot of Nick Nolte pictures and looked at them all, and to tell you the truth, we weren't totally sure about Nick because he'd never played a part like this. And I remember the director going out to interview him, and the director was going, "Gee, I don't know, you know, I just don't know if Nick's the right guy." So he went out and interviewed Nick, and it was supposed to be an hour interview, and he spent 5 hours out there with him, and he came back and he says, "Oh my God, we have got to have Nick Nolte play this part. He is the perfect Socrates." So, and luckily for us, Nick had said, "Hey, I absolutely have to play this part." So we were just 10 days away from shooting. And we signed Nick Nolte. It took us just 2 days to sign him. And luckily he wasn't in the first 2 weeks of shooting. So it worked out just perfectly, because he's such a grounded sage. This could have been a very difficult film because it could be preachy, it could be didactic, it even could be hokey. But because of the way the script is written, because Dan has a need for the teachings, and because Socrates, Nick Nolte, just so casually passes on these truths that it's extremely believable. Dan, the part of Dan Millman, a world-class gymnast, of course we wanted to try and attract an actor that looked like a gymnast, but who was also a great actor. And we interviewed everybody in town that was available, and Scott Meklowitz just stood out. He starred in Eurotrip and Mean Creek, a young actor, he's 24. And unfortunately, he was not athletic, he was pretty skinny, but he was so head and shoulders above everybody as far as an actor was that we had to have him. So we started him 3 months before, and we started him training, weight training twice a day on a special diet. We had him work 4 hours a day on gymnastics. We had special rigs built so that with wires and everything, and then we had the routines already designed, and we had the parts where we were going to be on our actor, where we would see his pan up and down and see his face. We had all those figured out, and we had the rigs and everything, and then he had to practice for 3 months. Most everybody who's seen this movie cannot believe that we use stunt doubles, that we use gymnastic doubles, because the way this is shot and the way it's put together and the way the visual effects takes the wires and the rigs out, it really looks like Dan, like Scott Meklowitz is doing this part.
I have a good eye, and I was really watching carefully, and I didn't notice anything. I didn't notice any special effects. And on the way to the film, just like you were saying, I was wondering how Nick Nolte would play this role, because
Right.
I read the book twice.
Right.
I love this book. He couldn't have nailed it better. It was incredible. It stuck with me all night and the next day and the next day. It's just really stuck with me. So it's absolutely really incredible performance. And I see that for you, you got up at the film festival, and it was very clear to me that this is not, promoting this film for you is not about your self-aggrandizement. This is really about a message. This is really about, sincerely, from the heart, because this is a heart film, that you really want to have this show, have as many people as possible see this. So speak some about what for you, promoting this, it's not just a film, but it's about transformation.
Right, exactly. The truth is 23 years ago, the Socrates in my life handed me the book, and I went home and I read the book, and I couldn't put it down. I was working for Hal Ashby at the time. We had just got done doing Being There with Peter Sellers and Shirley MacLaine, and I went, oh my God, this would make an incredible movie, because it's about the human condition. It's about the fact that we're not just a flesh and blood body existing in space and time, linear time, but we're also a spirit, a soul, an infinite eternal soul. And it's about that soul that we need to access, which you access by going inward. That's where the real truth comes. And that's what this movie's about. And you spend so much time working on movies. I mean, years. I mean, I had no idea it was going to take 23 years for it to finally come to the screen. But usually you spend years and years and years working on it. And I wanted my life to focus on something that was important to me. And what was important to me was the message in this book. And I wanted to bring that message to the film and have that film, because now people all the way on the other side of the world, in Thailand and in China, are going to see this film. And there's teachers that make major changes in a few people's lives, like my Socrates and the Socrates in this movie. And then there's teachers that make little changes in lots of people's lives. And that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to show something that somebody on the other side of the world might go, maybe I should learn a little bit more about meditation. Maybe I should be a little bit better about my diet. Maybe, gee, I'm not in the present moment enough. I'm really caught up in my head, and I'm thinking about the past, and I'm thinking about the future. And I wanted to give a movie that was a presentation that was a gift to the world. And I feel that this movie is that gift. 23 years ago, the Socrates gave me the book. And then I was working for Tony Robbins at the time, and who's a very close and good friend of mine. And so I acted as if I was a producer. And I called up Dan Millman, and I said, gee, I want to get the rights to this book. And I bonded with him, and I established rapport with him. And 5 years later, he calls me up and he says, David, I really love you, and I really know that you would make an incredibly good film, and I can feel your passion and I can feel your commitment, but, and I went, oh God, Columbia Pictures has offered me this incredible offer. And then it was silence. I thought, oh my God, here comes the second shoe. It's going to drop. And he said, but I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll meet Columbia's offer, I'll go with you. And I said, I'll meet it. He said, you don't know what it is. I said, I don't care what it is. I want to make this movie.